Chodesh Tov, Rabotai. I want to tell you something important that was asked by some people recently about education, when it comes to teachers and students. So there is a rule like this, right? The question is, I want to ask you first of all, is a man allowed to teach a woman in the school or a woman to teach a man? We're talking about children, of course, education, school. Can a woman teach boys and can a man teach girls? Or is this not allowed? This is what we're talking about here. So, in order to understand what the problem is, we have to look in the halakha and the Shulchan Aruch and see what's going on there. So first of all, there is two rules that is brought down in the Shulchan Aruch, Ibn Ezer, Siman Chavbet. Over there it says that a man who is not married is not allowed to teach young boys or young girls also. Doesn't matter which one. Not allowed to teach. So what's the reason why? So says the Shulchan Aruch, the reason is because the man who's teaching, what happens is, right, the mothers come to pick up the children, from the school. And because of that, he starts to become friendly with them, We're afraid something is going to happen over there. Too much of a friendship going on there, So therefore the rabbi said, you know what? A person who's not married, don't teach. Don't teach children. Wait till you get married. First do a wedding, right, and then become a teacher. Not before that. So we have to understand a little bit about this. What this means a little bit, right? What's the insinuation of this whole thing? So the thing is like this, that when a person is not married, he has Yetzer Hara, and because of that, he can get into trouble, if he starts talking to women too much. All kinds of things like this, And what happens is like this, when the mothers come to school, to pick up their children, or they come to a PTA meeting or something, whatever it is, right? They have to come sometimes for that. Whatever it may be, what happens is they talk a lot, the teacher and the mother, they talk, and they become friendly, become friends. All of a sudden, you're a little bit too close with this lady, You become like too friendly. And this is the problem. This is the issue that we're talking about. Now, if he's married, right, then it's much better. Why is that? Because his Yetzer Hara is not so strong. He has a wife, so he has what to do, in his life, He's got he's got an outlet for his desires, with his wife. So he doesn't need to go looking for other women. Some people like to look for other women also, but I'm not talking about that, right? But a normal person, when he's married, the Yetzer Hara is more in control. That's the thing. There's more control there. This is one of the reasons, by the way, that we get married. To control the Yetzer Hara. Because otherwise when you're single, anything could happen. You meet somebody here, you meet somebody there. You never know. Things can lead to one thing, things lead to another. You get into lo aleinu, you get into avera. So a person should try to be married because of this reason. But the thing is like this, they say over there that if he's married, as long as, he doesn't mean that his wife has to come to him with him in school, and watch him over there, what he's doing. No, she's home. She's staying home. She's got what she's doing at home. She doesn't. But the fact that he's married already gives him, we call that, right, in the Torah, we call that choma. What's choma? A wall, right? He's got a wall. What does that mean? His wife, when a person gets married, there's a lot of kedusha, in the chuppah, when he gets married. So what happens is that the fact that he's married forms a wall around him to protect him from outside things, bad influences, all kinds of things. So this is a good way for a person, to be in the right road in life, to get married, and have a choma around him, to protect him. So that's the thing. Once he has a wife, it's okay. We don't mind. Otherwise, who's going to teach them, right? If you don't let the married man teach them, who's going to teach them? No, there's nobody left. Yeah. Who's going to teach them? The computer or the AI? We're going to have to bring the AI to teach them. What are we going to do, right? That's not going to be good. So that's the whole thing, right? Now, what about the other side, right? The other side is the women. What does that mean? When the woman is a teacher, and right, she's teaching children. So over there, right, they say that she should not teach a woman, she should not teach boys. because sometimes there's Yetzer Hara there, you know? The boys and the teacher become attracted to each other. This happens, you know, sometimes. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah. You hear this, by the way, all the time, you know, in the news, you know? Some teacher, you know, went with her student, you know, and this happens all the time. You know that, right?
Is there an age limit?
Yeah, so what's the age limit? That's a good question, right? It's good that you reminded me about this. So it depends on, right, the girls and the boys. For the boys, right, the age is 9 years old. Once they become 9, it's already more dangerous. Before 9, it's not so bad. You know, we can tolerate that a little bit better. But once it becomes 9, why? What's the reason why 9 changes everything? Maybe it's bar mitzvah, 13. Why 9? You know, so the answer is, Chazal say, you know, that when a boy is 9, he already can have sexual relations with a woman, you know? He's able to. You know what I mean? In the old days, by the way, they matured faster, you know? Today, maybe it's a little bit slow. You know, you have to wait till you get to 10, 11, 12, I don't know, whatever it is. You know, but anyway, in theory, right, theoretically, 9 already is a problem for a boy. What about a girl? 3 years old, right? Much less. 3 years old. Why? Because a girl who's 3 years old can already have also relations with a man. It's possible. You know, even though she's very small, but it's possible. That's why they say Chazal, right? That what happened? Yeah, Yitzchak Avinu, when he married Rivka, she was 3 years old. That's what it was. Right? She was 3 years old. It's true. You know, he was at that time he was 40. You know, and she was 3. Can you imagine something like this? Yeah, that's what we call it today. We call it like that. You know, we call it abuse. But in the old days, they did that all the time. You know, they had no problem with that.
3 years old.
Okay, whatever. Right? Okay, we're not going to get into that right now. That's a different discussion. But I understand, you know, because today it's not acceptable. You know, but in the Arab countries, they do it. They do it. You know that, right? The big men, you know, 40 years old, they marry a little girl. It happens all the time in the Arab countries. You know, so, you know why? Because America, you know, is very modern, you know, modern culture, you know, right? So everything changes, you know, with the times. But the Arabim, you know, they're very traditional people, you know. Whatever they used to do 2,000 years ago, they do the same thing today. Nothing changes over there. You understand? This is the reason why it's the difference.
Sorry, regarding that age of Yitzchak's wife.
Yeah.
I remember Torah says when Avraham Avinu passed away, Yitzchak and Esau was 15 years old. And then Torah at the end says, in that parasha, it says that Rivka gave birth to, not Rivka. Lavan had a sister. It says that they give the generation, and it says that already she was born. Rivka was born from her father was
Betuel,
right. And Malka, I believe. Milka gave birth to Rahel. It's Torah. It says that she already in that generation. So by the time he was 40, you're saying 25. She was about 25, 20 years old.
Not correct. I'll tell you what it is. The timeline is like this. If you read, right, the Chazal, the words of the Chazal, the timeline works like this. Listen to me. When Yitzchak, when he did the Akedah, how old was he? 37. So at that time, right after the Akedah, if you look in the Chumash and the Parsha, it says that Rivka was born. Right there. You know? So she was born when he was 37. You know? And then he waited 3 years, you know, and Avraham, after when he was 40, he married Rivka. That's what happened.
I messed it up with Yitzchak kids. It's Yaakov and Esau.
Right. Yeah, okay, that's something else. Okay, whatever. Anyway, so the point is like this, right? So getting back to what we said, right? So what about the girls? So we said, right, for the men, for the boys it's 9 years old. For the girls it's 3 years old. By the way, this also applies, you know, for prohibition of yichud, you know, to close the door, to lock the door, you know, with a woman, you're not allowed to, right, have yichud. So before 3 years old, it's okay, no problem, you know. Or also for a boy, before 9 years old, no problem. Once they reach that age, the yichud is not allowed anymore. This is the time, you know, where it becomes forbidden. Same reason. Okay, whatever. That's an interesting discussion, but anyway, it's a side point. But getting back to what we said, right? There are, you know, women who are teaching. So, say the Chazal also there in the Shulchan Aruch, same thing, that she should not teach boys, right? Because of the attraction, you know, that can happen there. It happens all the time. So, Now the question is like this, right? But we see, the minhag is that they are teaching, the ladies. If you go to the yeshivot, you see, right? They do teach. So why aren't they following this halakha? This is the question. So there is a tshuva, Rav Moshe Feinstein, Shalom, in Chelek Gimel Ibn Ezer. He says over there, they asked him this question, why is it that women are teaching? It says in the Shulchan Aruch they're not allowed to teach like that. So he says the reason why we're lenient about this today in America, he says, and by the way, in Israel, you don't have this. Why? You know why? Because they have so many teachers over there. They got plenty. They don't need women teachers for this to teach boys. They got a lot of men over there who want to teach. The boys. So they don't need even one woman to teach the boys. They don't need this over there. They have so many teachers. Baruch Hashem, they have. But here in America, there's always a shortage of teachers. There's not enough. Especially in the yeshivot I'm talking about. There's a shortage. So what I mean to say is like this, right? It says Rav Moshe Feinstein, because there's not enough women teachers, men teachers who can teach the boys, sometimes they have to bring a woman, to do the job. So what is she going to teach them? She's not going to teach them, Gemara, right? They don't know Gemara, women. We're not talking about that. She's teaching them, the secular subjects, mathematics, and other things like this, right? Grammar, God knows, right? Whatever, all kinds of things like this. The secular things. That's what they do. They teach them these things, Sometimes they teach them also Chumash, Some ladies know Chumash pretty good. The ones who went to yeshiva, they know, So they can teach them Chumash also. Whatever, things like this, but whatever. Anyway, the point is like this, right? That when it comes to the ladies, says Rav Moshe Feinstein, the reason why we're lenient about it is because we have no choice, Otherwise, they're not going to have any teacher. Nobody to teach them. So then what are you going to do? You're desperate. They say the Chazal, right? Et la'asot la'Hashem heferu toratecha. You know what that means? Sometimes time comes to do for Hashem. Sometimes you have to break the Torah to do. Because there's no choice. What can you do, right? So this is the example like that, where we have no choice. So we have to do for Hashem, teach these children something. So we bring them the ladies to teach them, because we got no choice. But the thing is like this, right? We have to understand one thing. What are we talking about here? What age are we talking about? So Moshe Feinstein says, that if they don't have men, to teach the boys, for sure until 9 years old, as we said, right, they can teach that, the women, they can teach the boys until 9 years old. As we said, right, it's not such a problem until that point. But he says like this, even a bigger chidush from Moshe Feinstein. He says that if there are no teachers, even beyond 9, when they get older, become like teenagers, 12, 13, 14, they can still teach them if they have nobody else. Okay? Now, I'm going to ask you a very strong question over here. It seems like we're here, right, doing some, what do you call it? We're making a difference between the men and the women, right? Discrimination. You know why, right? Because we said, when it comes to the men, right, we don't allow them to do this at all, no matter what. But when it comes to the women, we're more lenient, to allow them to teach the boys if there's no other teachers. So why is that? What's the difference between the men and the women? If anybody can get this answer, he's a gaon, he's a genius. So, right? So, here's the difference, right? It says in the poskim like this. When they brought down this halakha in the Gemara and Shulchan Aruch, you know what it says over there? When it comes to the men, it says the men are gonna become intimate with the mothers, ladies, too much intimacy there going on. This is what it says. When it talks about the women, it doesn't talk about intimacy, it talks about yichud. You know what that means? Seclusion, right? We're afraid that the woman is going to be secluded with the man, with the boy, right? Whatever, the father or the son even. So why when it comes to men, it says they're gonna, get intimate, and when it comes to women, it says seclusion. Why the different language? What's the difference between the men and the women? Why different language like this? So the poskim, they answer over there. The reason is because the men, are more aggressive, in general, right? When it comes to, relations between men and women, the men are the ones who instigate everything, They're the ones who lead on the whole thing, right? So therefore, we're concerned he's going to be, aggressive with the woman, take her. You know what I mean? He's more aggressive. But when it comes to women, they're not so aggressive, the women, Some are, by the way, today also, there are some ladies who are very aggressive. But in general, most of the women are not so aggressive. They wait for the man to make the move. You know what I mean? This is the way it is, this is the nature of life. So, here's the thing, right? The women, we're not really scared that they're gonna go for the man, be aggressive with the man. No. It's just we're afraid there's going to be yichud, and then something's going to happen over there, because there's nobody watching. So, this is the reason why we're more lenient with the women, because we say like this. In our times, by the way, the thing is like this. We teach, in schools. The schools are public, right? Everybody can come in there, It's always open, the school. Anybody can walk in. You know what I mean? So there's no yichud over there in the school. There's no seclusion. There's too many people there, So nobody's going to have yichud in the school. The school is open to everybody. Understand? So therefore, we're not so concerned about yichud today. In the old days, we were more concerned. You know why? Because the women were teaching at home. She was the Morah, right? Was teaching at home her class. Understand? So there was chashash. There was concern about seclusion. And this is the reason why by women it's seclusion. By men it's actually becoming aggressive. So that's why we're more lenient with the ladies. So therefore, when we have no other choice, we allow them to teach the boys. Even if they're a little bit older. 12, 13, 14, 15. What can we do? If you have no choice, we have to do it. But if there is a choice, right? There is men teachers. Take the man, much better, right? Lechatchila, take the man. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ואמן. רבי חנין שאומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לעזוב לישראל, לפיכך הכריע בעל להם תורה ומצוות שנאמר בן חפץ, למען צדקו יגדיל תורה וידיר.